if we really believe in God, and there is a God above, and He made us, and He sustains us, and He's the one who's going to give us what we need, do we really need to give Him a laundry list of what we need? Doesn't He know already what we need? I mean, what's the point?
Hi, my name is Elise Walman. I'm from Montreal. I'm currently studying composition at McGill University.
Hi, my name is Josh Sakarov. I'm currently studying biology and psychology at Stony Brook University in Long Island, New York.
My name is Rabbi Moshe Krasnianski, spiritual leader and executive director of Chabad of the Town, a suburb in Montreal, Canada.
So, why can't a child who's born to a Jewish father but a non-Jewish mother, why aren't they Jewish?
The interesting thing about being Jewish is that it is sort of a birthright that's given to us. And God gives to the Jewish people this birthright and says, if your mother is Jewish, then you will be Jewish, even if your father is not Jewish. Obviously, if both parents are Jewish, then you're Jewish. If your father is Jewish, but your mother is not Jewish, you don't have that birthright. Now that seems very arrogant, and like, how are you to judge? And the truth is, what makes someone Jewish is not something we do, it's something that is given to us. Or if someone converts willingly, following the process as prescribed in the Torah, they also can become Jewish. So being Jewish is not something that we create, something that's given to us by God. Now, why is it not arrogant to say something like that? Are we better, like you can't join the club? And the answer is, which is what's unique to the Jewish people, is that if someone is not Jewish, they are not anything less. Being a Gentile or someone of the world, you're not anything less to God. God put you here in this world. He gave you life. Just each one of us have a different mission in life. And when the Jewish people stood around Mount Sinai, God said, everyone here and those who will be born after to a Jewish mother will carry this birthright of being Jewish. And if not, you have the mission, that the universal mission that everyone has in this world, to live your life fully as you live. And they can still be a good person, God-fearing and God-following person.
I learned in school that Hashem gave us Jews the mitzvah in the Torah to destroy all Amalekites and erase them from this earth, which I always thought was strange because, you know, we are very strongly for the preservation of life if we can. So to have a mitzvah that is to destroy an entire people, to me, seems strange, even with the historical context. And so my question is, it says somewhere that when the Mashiach comes, we'll know who the Amalekites are. What if someone who's descended from an Amalekite over the centuries has converted to Judaism? Is being an Amalekite an actual ethnicity, or is it more of a metaphorical concept?
That's a very good question, because it's very important to understand this concept in the Torah of destroying a nation. As you said, Judaism is very humane. We do not believe in murder in no way except self-defense. Why are we demanded to destroy an entire people and everything connected to those people? When we refer to Amalek, we talk about a people who have a certain stand in life. And that is that they represent evil to its fullest degree. Their hatred to the Jewish people, their hatred towards what the Jewish people represent as the people of God, is so absolute that they are bent on destroying us. They want to eradicate the Jewish people. And there was a people which we find that when the Jewish people left Egypt, Amalek tried to destroy us immediately as we left Egypt. They traveled hundreds of kilometers as we were no danger to them. You know, we've had many enemies who have tried to hurt us because they felt we were a danger. We were living at their border, trying to enter into the land of Israel or trying to expand the land of Israel, and they felt that we are a danger to them. So if someone like that wants to defend themselves and hurt us, they're not hating us, they just want to get rid of us from within their midst. But then you have a people who historically just wanted to destroy the Jewish people. Our existence bothers them. And we don't have to look far. Hitler had no business trying to kill Jews in all parts of Europe. Even he had a list of Jews in America that he was ready to kill. He wanted to get rid of the Jewish people. He couldn't live in this world and feel comfortable unless every Jew was gone. We hear today in Iran such type of language. We've had in the story of Purim, Haman just couldn't stand the existence of the Jewish people. So Amalek was not just a people that we don't like how they look. They were a people who were bent on destroying the Jewish people's existence and everything we stood for, being God's people in this world. And for that we were commanded, destroy them, because as such a cancerous hatred, you cannot make deals and you cannot push them off. Ultimately, it'll be you or them. But this was not open rule for any time you meet an Amalekite in the street, go kill him. It was under many conditions, even for the Jewish people when we lived in Israel, to be able to fulfill this command. But historically, especially today, when we don't have that same level of Jewish kingship, all the Jews living together in Israel, Amalek is the idea of eradicating such type of hatred and evil. We can compromise, we can work with, we can discuss with people who have issues with us, that maybe if they understood, they may look at us differently. But people who don't want to talk, who just have this real anti-Semitic hatred, we cannot compromise, we cannot talk with them. This is not something that we can make it happen. So Amalek, if someone, even if they don't convert to Judaism, if someone changes their tune, even if they come from Amalek, physically they come from that nation, but they don't anymore hate the Jews in that way, then there's no mitzvah to kill them, even if all the conditions are met. So obviously, if an Amalekite would convert to Judaism, and we are told that Haman's grandchildren converted to Judaism. The Talmud tells us that his grandchildren studied Torah in Bnei Brak. So if Amalekite converts to Judaism, for sure we have no issue, and we do not kill him. And even if they don't, but they just leave their ways of such baseless hatred, we do not kill them as well. In a world today where we have a very hard time dealing with the idea of absolute evil, the world today, people want to always understand why people are doing something wrong. There must be a reason. And very often they portray the problem not on the perpetrator, but on the victims, which happens in Israel today as well, and many other times and places. The Torah is very clear that there are certain evils and negativities that can be transformed and you can work with in many ways to bring them to change their heart, their mind. But there are some evils and negativities that you just cannot change. They're just so deeply bred that they're impossible to make any change. And just like you have medically, sometimes someone has a sickness, God forbid, in their body that they cannot heal and they must amputate. God forbid. It's very, very terrible. But if they don't, it will hurt the rest of the body. And often you can heal. And so too it is the way we look at evil. There is sometimes evil that there's no way to deal with it except to totally push it away and get rid of it. But today this is not a practical idea, and there's no one going around killing and no one looking to kill people who hate us at all. On the contrary, we like to do things peacefully and well. But the idea is important to know that when you see an evil that's uncompromising, don't try to compromise with it. Push it away and walk away from it.
So can you explain how Jewish prayer differs from prayer in other religions, and how do Jews pray?
Prayer is where we ask God for our needs. We turn to God. I think in any religion, in any way, if we realize that our needs need to be answered by God, this is a beautiful thing. And recognizing that God is the master of the world and all the blessings come from God. So in reality, the fact that anyone prays and everyone should pray, Jew, non-Jew, is a positive thing. But I will say it does differ. And that is that most people look at prayer as sort of turning to God and giving him a list of what I need. God, I need health, I need livelihood, I want happiness, I want to find a soulmate, I want success in my endeavors, I want to make money, I want a career should go well, I want to have children, I want to have joy from my children. So prayer almost becomes a laundry list that we give to God of what we need. But the question is, if we really believe in God, and there is a God above, and he made us, and he sustains us, and he's the one who's going to give us what we need, do we really need to give him a laundry list of what we need? Doesn't he know already what we need? I mean, what's the point of praying to God to tell him what I need? Therefore, in Judaism, we look at prayer a little differently. Prayer is not to tell God what we need. It's to sensitize ourselves that all of the things that we need, even for our physical, materialistic existence, is godly as well. And we have to feel, not just that it comes from God, but God is giving it to us for his purpose and reasons. He put us here and he's giving to us his purpose and reasons. So prayer is the process of sensitizing ourselves and to climb the ladder. You know, the first metaphor of prayer is the dream that Jacob had, where he saw a ladder connecting earth and heaven, and he saw angels going up and down. Because prayer is about climbing up the ladder, to feel more spiritual ourselves, to take a step out of the rat race of life and of the regular momentary activities, and to reflect on ourselves. How do I become more close to God, more godly? How do I refine myself? How do I become a better person? You know, and the question people ask is, if God made someone sick, how can we even ask him to make us better? Aren't we defying what God's decision is? But the answer is that when we pray and we refine ourselves, we're no more the same person that had the condition before. And that's what happened to Abraham. Abraham was promised children. And years passed by, he couldn't have children. And he turns to God and he says, God, but even the stargazers say there's no children in the stars for me. And God said, wait 1 second. Let me raise you above the stars. And there Abraham will have children. So prayer is the process of us raising ourselves up to God, rather than just asking God to give us what we need. And this is the whole Jewish approach to prayer, and why the morning prayer is a long prayer. The rabbis designed it to be a long prayer. It's a process of a build-up to recognize how God is in every part of our life. There's nothing outside of God, and everything is all directed by God and for God. And this is really what prayer is supposed to mean for us as Jews.
If there was one prayer you would like say any Jew should say like all the time, like there's that one prayer, what would you say it would be?
You may expect me to say like Shema Yisrael, but I'm not going to say that, because I really believe, and I actually encourage people all the time. There's a prayer that only has 12 words in it. It's the first prayer we say in the morning, before you even get out of bed. Modeh ani lefanecha. I am thankful to you, God. Melech chai v'kayam, the eternal, living King. Shechzarta bi nishmati, that you have returned back to me, my soul. Rabba emunasecha, my faithfulness in you is great. If you just wake up in the morning and you say, thank you, God, for giving me another day, it's impossible that you're not going to have a better day, a more meaningful day. You know, we wake up in the morning, very often we're grouchy, we put us to snooze, and I don't want to face the day, and I would rather sleep. And what kind of a day do you create? But when you wake up in the morning, wow, God gave me back life. I have another day. I can make things happen. It automatically changes your day. It's the beginning of a different day. So I'm a big believer in Moda Ani being a prayer that everyone should learn to say.
So how does Judaism view the afterlife, and what are the teachings on the afterlife and the rewards and different punishments that a Jew can undergo in the afterlife?
It's very interesting that this question almost has Christian undertones, because in Christianity, they talk a lot about reward and punishment and afterlife and what will be and what will happen. And even today, as we're learning more about the Muslim world, they always talk about what will happen in the afterlife. And in Judaism, you find very little discussion about the afterlife. Yes, we believe that there is an afterlife. We believe that after a person passes away, the soul goes to paradise and goes through a process of cleansing, which we call purgatory or hell. But it's not a permanent place. It's more of a cleansing experience, so the soul can go back to its original place. Mashiach will come, and there'll be a resurrection of the dead, and there'll be an afterlife. There is reward and punishment, but in the Torah, the afterlife is not even mentioned explicitly. Reward and punishment is mentioned here and there. So the truth is that though Judaism believes in all of these things, and it's part of the process because we believe that there is a soul, as we said, and a body, but to us, this is not our focus. Judaism's focus is today, is our lifetime. The most precious time for a soul's existence is while it's here in this world in a body. On one hand, the soul is in its perfect environment above, it's spiritual, it doesn't have all of the challenges and the ups and downs of a physical, materialistic life, birth and death, sicknesses, poverty. In heaven, everything is perfect. But yet, the soul has its greatest moments of growth here in this world when it's in a body. And it still is able to keep its flame alive and even to get the body to be in sync with it, to do a mitzvah, to do what God wants, to do more mitzvot. This is what I always like to call the capital markets. This is the days of growth. In heaven, we live off the dividends of what we make today. We are obsessed with life because we know that life here, the 120 years a person is given, or however many years a person is living in this world, this is the moment that we can grow exponentially, that we can be transformative for our body and soul. And therefore, Judaism doesn't put the big emphasis on those things you're mentioning. That exists, the world to come, paradise, reward and punishment. It's more about how the soul can grow.
I read somewhere, and I can't remember for the life of me where I read it or who told me this, but I once heard from someone that if a Jewish person dies before they're 70 years old, that means they haven't actually accomplished everything they were set out to accomplish, and that they will be reincarnated into a new body with that soul to finish what they were set out to do on this earth. Does Judaism believe in reincarnation, or am I just imagining that?
To give you the short answer, we believe in reincarnation. Not only do we believe in reincarnation, most of our souls are reincarnated again and again. But not in the form the way the Buddhists believe that a soul just comes back and back again and again, but because every soul has to utilize completely its abilities to grow in this world, in one lifetime it cannot happen. So in every lifetime, another aspect of the soul is having growth in this world. The soul is infinite, the growth is infinite, and that's why we come back again and again. And therefore, the age a person lives or doesn't live is really not connected to if the soul did its purpose. And there are many stories, we can talk for a long time. Just because someone passed away young, God forbid, kids pass away, and a teenagers pass away, and on all ages, and young 20s, 30s. The fact is that anyone, when their life ends, their purpose in this world was fulfilled. We don't understand. What happens to a baby at 2 years old? What did they fulfill? Just because we don't understand doesn't mean we don't know. But no matter how long a person lives in this world, they have a mission and they fulfilled it. And the story goes that the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, who lived in the 17th century, 17th, 18th century, the Baal Shem Tov, who got to be known as a miracle worker, and many people came to him, both to hear his message about a positive, empowering Judaism, and also to seek blessing for miracles. So there was a couple who couldn't have children. And they heard about the Baal Shem Tov, and they came to him to ask for children. And he didn't give them the blessing. And they came again and again. And finally, at some point, the wife tells the Baal Shem Tov, I'm not leaving here until you promise me a child. And the Baal Shem Tov put his head down for a moment, thought, and he said, God willing, you will have a child by next year. The couple was excited. She became pregnant shortly after, and she had a child. And this older couple couldn't do enough for their child. Their whole life centered around the child. They gave their child everything that the child needed and could ever dream of. And then one day, at the age 2 or 3 years old, the mother comes to get the baby from the crib, and the baby is not alive. The baby is blue. She's shrieking. She picks up the baby, calls the doctors, try to revive the baby, and just can't happen. She is so upset. I begged this great rabbi, our teacher, miracle worker, to bless us with the baby. And I thought he gave us a blessing, he gave us a curse. Better I should never have given birth than to give birth to a baby. And at 2 years old, the baby's not here anymore. And she was so upset, she didn't even bury the baby. She came running back to the town of the Baal Shem Tov with her husband and says, how dare you give me such a curse? Very upset at him, demanding an answer and make something happen. So the Baal Shem Tov calmed down, grieved with them, says, I just want to tell you a story. He said that years ago, in a certain country, there lived the king of a certain country. Now, the king of the country didn't have any children. And it bothered him. He wanted an heir. He wanted to have a child. He couldn't have children. So one day, one of the priests who was close to the king said, you know why you don't have children? The Jewish people. They don't like you. And they gave a curse to you that you will not have children. If you want to have a child, it's going to be on the Jewish people. So the king took it to heart, and he right away made a decree that if in the next year he doesn't have a child, all the Jews are being kicked out of the country. Lo and behold, within the next year he had a child. But it created such a negative atmosphere for the Jewish people that many Jews sort of went low-key and undercover. Anyways, this boy was born, and at 2 years old already, he was showing signs of genius. He already learned how to read, and he was growing incredibly in his knowledge. And the king said, I need to find for my future heir the best teacher. And he started to interview teachers, and he interviewed many people. And then he liked one person, and he said, I want to hire you. So the person said, one condition. I'll come here, I'll move into the palace grounds, I'll teach your child, but I need some personal time. 2 hours every day in the morning is my time. The rest of the day I'll spend with your child, I'll take care of him. The king agreed. And he started to teach him, and he was helping the child develop. The king was very happy. But as this child was growing, as 4 or 5 years old, he was very curious, and he was wondering, why is my teacher every day disappear for 2 hours? What's going on with him? What's happening? I need to find out. And he asked the teacher, and he wouldn't tell him. So he figured out, he went to one of the guards, you have a key to his apartment, I want to get in, hide me in a closet. He advised the whole plan that he wants to be in that teacher's room to see what he does for 2 hours. And what does he need 2 hours alone? And he made it into the room, and he sees through the peephole of the closet that the teacher takes out a bag and starts taking out a box and puts it on her hand. And he never saw anything like this before. And it was so intriguing to him that he never saw anything like this before, that he couldn't hold himself in. And he opened up the closet door and his teacher saw him and he was shocked. He says, "What are you doing here?" He says, I was too curious. "What are you doing?" And the teacher was thinking, if he tells the king that I'm a Jew, after the way he dealt with the Jews, he tells the kid, "You cannot tell your dad nothing." He says, "I won't tell my dad anything. But what are you doing?" So he started to tell him, "I'm a Jew." And he says, "So what is a Jew?" And he started to teach him. And before long, all the kid wanted to know about what is a Jew, what is a Jew, what is a Jew. At some point, when the kid was still young, he tells his teacher, "I want to become a Jew. I want to be exactly like you." The teacher says, "It's impossible. You're the heir of this." He says, "I want to become." And he was so insistent. The teacher saw he was sincere and he knew he was smart, intelligent. So the teacher said, "Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to plan a trip. I'll tell your father I have to teach you to see how other places run, how other kings run their countries. And we're going on a 2-year trip. And once we go out of the vicinity, I'll take you to a place. I'll put you with some teachers. And there you'll learn how to be a Jew. And you'll convert, etc." And that's exactly what happened. The king was excited. The teacher was taking him out. He took the kid and he traveled. And then this kid converted, became a great man, a very righteous, a great scholar, and he lived a full life. Then he passed on. When he came to heaven, they said, this person must go straight to Garden of Eden. This person who changed his life could have been heir to a country and wealth and changed his life to become a Jew and live like this. But there was one problem. He grew up nursing from his mother, who ate all types of non-kosher things. Like he has a little stain that though he's great, that how can he go to the highest places? So in heaven it was decided that we're going to send this soul back to earth for 2-3 years to be born to a Jewish family and to be brought up the first few years of his life like a Jew and nursing from a Jewish mother. And then his soul will be complete to go to the highest places in Garden of Eden. And this was the child you had. Yes, it's painful, but you played a role in helping such a high elevated soul. And not that the story takes away the pain from the woman, but it gives a glimpse into how God runs the world that we don't understand. Tragedies happen, but God has a calculation of what's happening. And to us, things sometimes seem tragic and terrible, but there is another whole agenda happening, which is ultimately there for the soul. And this is, so this is how we view every person's journey in life.
Thank you very much for speaking to me, for speaking to the both of us. I learned a lot from the discussion that we just had.
The Rohr Jewish Learning Institute has the largest collection of Jewish media online. Hit subscribe for more.